All right, I'm going live now. Three, two, one.
Hello.
Hi, Facebook friends. I'm now talking with a very good friend in Kabul. And salam, shoma khubastin, wahabjan,
Salam.
bakharasti.
Mahmoud, your Persian is quite great, like better than my English.
Oh no, your English is excellent. Thank you very much. So everything all right with you?
Everything is all right with me. I'd like you to the conversation. We are very, very glad to have in Kabul. And the reason for this conversation is just that we will play this video later in the seminar that we have here in Kabul. It's a seminar on how to build a successful life. It introduces some available scholarships, uh, uh, Fulbright scholarships, the scholarships to American University of Central Asia, American University of Afghanistan, and those things. But they need for great motivation that we believe you can bring them to us.
Sure. Yeah, it's an honor to be part of your journey as well. Just a quick technical check. I think the sound is not coming through very clearly from your side, so I'm not sure if it's a technical
Okay.
thing. But I think as long as we slow down and I should be able to hear you well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope it's fine now.
Yeah, I think it should be fine. And also, there's a lot of noise coming from my side. There's a lot of construction work, so a little bit of give and take.
Pressure to
All right. So, how can I be of service to you? What?
we go to some for you, and you can simply answer the service.
Yeah. You have some questions for me?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. First, we want you to introduce yourself. I could say, although you're a good friend, but before coming to the seminars, we want to know about you. So we're listening.
All right. So my name is Edmund Chow, and I'm from Singapore. Oh, sorry. Okay.
So
That's really loud from the construction side.
it's okay.
So basically, where shall I begin? I've been a teacher all my life. I have taught in secondary schools, I've taught in the universities, and recently I've just completed my PhD at the University of Manchester. And my research work really focused on Afghan culture, more specifically on Afghan theatre. And so I was in Kabul for about 5 months. I think that was in 2012 and 13. I think end of December 2012 and then beginning of 2013. And that's also where I met Azizi Jan. You know, that's where our connection started. So right now I'm teaching at a university as well. So it's that's where I am in terms of who I am actually.
Mhm. Cool. You say that you got you did your PhD in University of Manchester. You also have a degree in English literature, if I'm mistaken. And it looks like you learned English because you are obviously not a native. You were not a native English speaker, and you learned. Could you tell us something about the ways that you used, or I could say the courses that you take, and the time that it took to learn English?
Okay,
Was it joyful for you, or like how did you learn English?
okay, that's an interesting question. It's more a you need to understand that in Singapore, English is our first language, which is kind of strange
Oh, right.
because of many Asian countries. Not many Asian countries use English as a first language, but it's more of a political mechanism at that time where the government wanted to propel Singapore into the global scene. Of course, we were part of the British. We were once a colony of the British Empire. But the Singapore government decided to make English as our first language, even though maybe at home I was speaking more of my mother tongue, which is Cantonese, and a little bit of Mandarin, two of the Chinese languages. but English was formally taught and used as a first language. So I didn't really have a lot of difficulties in that sense of in terms of learning the language because everywhere I went, it was still English. Um, but having said that, I think I can understand a little bit of um, the frustrations or the difficulties for English language learners because I taught English in various contexts, and it is sometimes very difficult to learn the language when in your mind, for example, I'm learning Farsi, right? I'm learning Dari, and in my mind, I'm trying to convert or translate the structures before I even speak Dari, and the difficulty of learning the language is when we are doing the mental translation in the head. um, the test, I think, if of your proficiency in the language is if you don't even need to do that mental translation and you can just speak in that language fluently, then you would have arrived at the level of proficiency and confidence, I think.
I see. Very comprehensive answer, I could say. Of course, learning a new language is fun. Besides, us, like, I'll just say that it helps us build our self-esteem and self-confidence, and it obviously helped everyone, like me, who I could say, and it does so. You mentioned about Kabul and your experience here before. Could you tell us something about your experience here? How long were you here in Kabul, and what were you here for, I would say?
Yeah, I think I've written a lot of blog posts on my experience in Kabul, but I think I want to share a little bit of that initial fear of coming into Afghanistan because most of the time, especially coming from other countries which are not in conflict, that are not at war, we often look at images from the news and from newspapers, and the images we have are usually about violence and horror and death. And most of the time, those images actually permeate our consciousness. So in December 20, actually, I think it was October 2012, if I'm not wrong, I was at the British Council events in London, and at that time they had NGOs from Afghanistan coming into London to give speeches. They were talking about the cultural industry, and then after they've given that talk, and then there was networking. We chatted among ourselves. They realized that I was doing a PhD. So one particular guy from an organization asked if I wanted to work for them as a volunteer, as an intern. So I thought that was a great opportunity for me to go into Afghanistan. So I said yes, and then I went to do the proper paperwork, the administrative work, to getting the visa and getting the approval from my university as well. But then I think more towards November and December, that was when the time I was about to go. Actually, no, I think my very first experience was in 2011. Sorry, so let's backtrack a little bit. My very first trip to Afghanistan was just a 2-week trip to see whether it was even a possible a place to do a research in. So that became a huge problem because at that time I only knew one Afghan person, and so I had a lot of fears of going to Afghanistan. I thought I was going to die. I mean, the truth of it was it became a very huge fear because I wasn't sure what's going to happen. It's just so unpredictable, coming from Singapore or coming from the UK, going to a country that I know nothing about. So I decided that, it was... I wasn't sure. Let's just say I wasn't sure I made the right choice at that time. But because my Afghan friend at that time, I called him just 1 week before I was supposed to fly out to Kabul. There was a bomb blast in Kabul. I can't remember how many people died, and I think that shook me quite a lot. And I had nightmares before going to Afghanistan. I was like, oh, am I making the right choice? Am I leaving my family behind? Um, is this research even worth doing? Why would I even want to go to Afghanistan um, when I could do some other research in a safer place,
Mm-hmm.
for example, right? Why put myself at risk? So, I called my friend, and my friend told me that the choice is up to me, but him living in Afghanistan in Kabul, it is pretty safe. I mean, that's relative. And he says that if I come, I will protect you with my life. And I haven't really known this Afghan friend for a long time. It's just probably a few conversations now and then. And the fact that he told me that he's going to protect me with his life, and I'm a stranger at that time, I think really made it feel like, okay, I feel like it was the right choice. I trusted him, he trusted me. And he even told me that if I got lost at the airport, and I didn't have Afghani, I can just ask someone to. I can just borrow a phone from someone, let's say at the airport, use their phone, give them a few dollars, and then he would be there to pick me up. So these are the things that assured me that he was there for me, and that made it feel a lot more comforting and assuring. So I decided to go, and then he really showed me around, and he took care of me, uh, yeah, every single day, and for that I was very thankful. So that was in 2011. So 1 year later, I decided to go to the NGO and volunteer as an intern. So that's how I decided that it was safe enough at that time to live there for a longer period of time. So my experience with Afghans basically is that you are a very hospitable culture. I really enjoy making friends with every single person I've met. Of course, sometimes I try to look Afghan, wearing I try to dress as simply as possible, just like you guys, and then I can be.
People from Bamyan or
Yeah, from
or
Bamyan. Exactly. But once I start speaking, then that's when they know I'm not from here at all. I'm not from Afghanistan. But yeah, but even in the way I walk, somehow they say that, oh, you're not Afghan. So it was quite obvious.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, the hospitality and love that your people showed to me and showered on me is just overwhelming, and I'm always very thankful for that deep sense of connection and friendship. Because, for example, we've not met. You and I have not met, but we have spoken, and I love you as a brother, and we know each other pretty well. So that's the kind of relationship and friendship that I really love and cherish very much.
Interesting, I could say. Well, when I heard about you, Azizi is someone who he thought was an Afghan, but then he said like hi, and he says like, well, my English was not very good, but we became friends very soon, and he had very interesting experience, I could say, or times with you. I wish we could be in touch at that time too, so that I could also prove you some hospitality, I could say, or welcome you to here. But anyway, we may have you in the future. Well, nowadays Afghans, like especially youth, the young generation, they are escaping the borders, I could say, and they are just running away from the country. They think like, well, this country will not be built. But at this situation, Mr. Azizi, I, Ms. Lida, Mr. Azizi's wife, who is a of Mr. Tavana, we came together and we invested our money to start a business. And we could start our academy. Like, it's the first academy in Afghanistan, and from Afghanistan to work. Unfortunately, we could find you, we could find Jeffrey Yergeler, he's a professor at Golden Gate University. We could be in touch with John Witt, he is from Biontrees International Company. He's a good now. and now it's a team. It's a kind of international team that we have. Like you're there and others are there too. We found it a great opportunity to do it here in Afghanistan. Now, the foreigners and people from outside Afghanistan who come to the street, work here, do their researches, like you yourself. So it looks like, well, after the borders, but foreigners are very interested to at least come here. What's your idea, or say, what's your message to them, to those who spend thousands of dollars to go to Germany, Turkey, or other places, I could say illegally, and they don't hear, and they're somehow, I could say, not motivated, or they're not putting work in this country. What do you think, or I could say, what's your message from a foreigner point of view, from a person's point of view who's not an Afghan, right?
I think this is a really complex issue. There's no one answer that will satisfy any group of people because, from a humanitarian perspective, I can understand why a lot of Afghans are leaving the country, and I can also sense the frustrations of the host countries and sometimes the treatment that they're giving to refugees. So the debates are really complex, and it is not just about leaving war and coming to a better place, but it goes deeper than the economics and the humanitarian issues. So I don't think I'm not sure if this is the right place to talk about these complex issues, but talking about leaving the country, I mean, because I think there is a possible mass movement of Afghans. For example, I was in Vienna just recently, probably 2 months ago, and I was waiting in the train station for a friend, and everywhere around me was an Afghan. You know, I was just sitting there waiting for my friend, and I realized, oh, that sounds familiar, that's Dari. And then I start looking around, and everybody is an Afghan. And while I appreciate that familiarity, but I also sense that there is a disconnect of the people, or especially refugees, in a new culture. And it is so difficult for... There are a lot of expectations, you know, so some people say that, oh, because now I'm a refugee, I deserve equal rights and equal treatment and all the other things. And on one hand, yes, that is true. But on the other hand, the West also expects that you respect their culture. You know, so there are a lot of give and take from both sides, right? So it's not just okay, because we are from a war-torn country and therefore we need your help, and definitely we are not going to reject your help. But at the same time, there is a lot of issues in terms of intercultural communication, in terms of expectations that need to be ironed out on a day-to-day basis. But I think for those Afghans who are remaining in the country and trying to make it work for you, first of all, I'm not sure if I should say thank you, because I think Afghanistan still needs people like you to pave the way for a sustainable economy, right? And I think you have in your own hands what it can take to thrive. So from my research, and this is going to be a little controversial, from my research, it has felt that Afghanistan is always asking for foreign aid all the time. Can you hear me? Because you sort of...
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
So even as early as in the 70s, you know, when apparently culture was thriving, you know, Kabul National Theatre, for example, yet there is still the ministry still asking for a lot of foreign aid coming from the different countries. And so that became a mentality that even though we are thriving, okay, Afghanistan is thriving, we are always asking and expecting foreign aid to come into the country to help us. So that help is a victim mentality. It's like I'm a victim and I therefore need help all the time. And that is not very helpful if you look at it from a psychology perspective. Because if I don't take charge of my own life and I'm always asking someone else to help me, then you don't have the power to help yourself. You're always expecting someone to help you. So whether it's from a national perspective of your country, and I'm not in any position to criticize your government policies, and I have no idea about your policies, but I'm just looking at from that perspective of always demanding foreign aid coming in. That makes you as an individual always wanting or having the entitlement that you owe me something because I'm from a suffering country, and therefore I don't take responsibility for my own life. And I think that is the problem for a lot of people who think that everyone else needs to serve me or needs to help me. And this is not just in Afghanistan. I think if we are in that situation where we feel like I deserve a better life and therefore you must help me, then that shift needs to happen, because it's no longer someone needs to help me, but you need to help yourself. So for your participants, for your students who are coming to our Success Academy, you are already taking the first step in helping Afghans realize that there is the power within themselves to make something different and change not just the economy or the politics, but actually their own lives. Salam.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys, we're there.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yep. Well, I believe that it doesn't matter Singapore, Afghanistan, UK, or the United States. We shoulder our responsibilities. Do something and bring a change in the society.
Vale.
I believe like we are here on this planet to bring a change.
Vale.
Doesn't matter wherever we are, and what we have. I would say, or our Success Academy is planning to take services over the borders, I could say. And for very, very soon, it'll go to India, and it's planning to go to around the world, right? Of course, you're interested. I want others and people to know that how you are, how much interested you are, and in which part you can help our Success Academy. Because, of course, you're a team, and as you say, we are brothers. Like, what you are going to do for our Success Academy, like even in a business, that we go for seminars and you appear there as a public speaking instructor or as a motivational speaker or as a teacher. What's your perspective? I could say, what's your idea about the plans that our Success Academy has, and your idea about the things that you will do or you do for
So that's a really big plan, and I want to first of all congratulate our Success Academy for taking the initiative to developing personal development, and I think that is an important area for Afghanistan to move ahead. I can do a lot of things. I mean, we are partnering up here, and because I'm a motivational speaker, I'm a consultant, and I'm helping businesses develop their business forward in terms of storytelling, in terms of leadership, in terms of communication. So we could potentially do like Skype calls like this to do e-lessons, digital instructional videos. The class is ongoing. We can have an interaction. I can be teaching courses that meet your needs. So rather than I deliver what I think you need, it's best that your community tell you or tell me what are the needs and see
Sure.
whether there's a nice match, a nice fit with my expertise. So that's on one thing, on one level. On the second level, which is something I want to do personally, and I think OSA can also help me come together to share the vision, is that I recognize that in Afghanistan, it is very difficult for students to pursue an education. I think there is that mentality that because I need to help my family, I need to help feed my family, therefore I need to work, right? I've seen a lot of children on the streets, selling things, and that is a very painful reality to acknowledge because children should be studying, you know. People like you should be studying and doing higher education. But the reality kicks in when they have to feed their family. Just getting a few pieces of naan on the table, sometimes it feels like it's just an obstacle. But I'm hoping to see an institution, maybe OSA can be a pioneer in this, where people come to study with you and yet are paid at the same time. So when they are studying, it becomes a kind of institution where they can take their knowledge and apply it, maybe, agricultural knowledge. They start learning geography. They learn about the land, they learn about the soil, and they understand the environment. Then they also learn about economics and how they start marketing their goods, marketing their fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And they understand the entire economics of marketing, and yet they're able to grow their own crops and then make it work so that the money is coming to them on a daily basis. So that's one thing I'm hoping that OSA can do. So it's a kind of a school, maybe an entrepreneurial kind of a school, where you learn the kind of knowledge and skills that will feed the family and sustain their livelihood, right? So that's something it's also a personal vision, and I'm seeing whether that can align with OSA. And the second thing about what I've discovered as well is that a lot of Afghans are very intelligent. They have the capacity to do their masters and even the PhD overseas, and yet the financial situation prevents them from doing that. They have the ability to do it, but they feel that I don't have the money. I don't know how to go about applying for a visa. So they're not little, but these problems become obstacles for them to pursue an education. And I've always wanted to establish a foundation where we can disburse scholarships for Afghans, because I know in your culture to take money from someone can be a shameful thing. It's all about the face. On one hand, I'm not sure whether that's a good thing, because then that prevents people from pursuing an education. But if on an organizational infrastructure, if OSA can give out scholarships, we partner with different organizations and we give out scholarships to Afghans who need the money to study, then it will not be an issue of face. It's more like, okay, you take the scholarship, you go and do your master's in another country or do a PhD. You come back and then you contribute to the economy in ways that will help develop the economy, help develop the politics of the situation, look at it in a different way, and then there is like a bond. Just like I am bonded to my government right now because I took a scholarship from my government to study in the UK.
Yeah.
So now I'm bonded. I have a 2-year service period to work with the government to establish the economy. Right. So in the same way, if we can take this model of giving scholarships to Afghans, and when they come back, they have to contribute to the economy. And I think that might, I don't know if there are existing infrastructure that look into that, so we can use that model to implement in Kabul and then later on to the different provinces.
Sure. I should say just wow, really wow. Both of the ideas work, and well, let me tell you that both of the ideas were somehow related to the ideas that we had that's why we have teamed up, I think, because we think similar.
Brilliant.
Very, very similar.
Brilliant.
If we think about having you on e-classes, maybe here at OA, or doesn't matter, NEMA is the first accredited associate degree institute in business school. And we have American University that and appear through Skype calls and on e-classes. So that works. We are planning on that, and we will be like very, very grateful, I could say, or very honored to have. When it comes to scholarships, I just I should tell I think we should celebrate it now. We thought about it. Yeah, and it looks like, well, now we are going to implement it.
Great.
Of course, we can do it. There are a lot of Afghans here in our own account looking for scholarships. We are giving financial aids to study at our Success Academy.
Great.
That's to study here. But if you're studying outside, there's today's seminar about that, to help them find some opportunities. And thank you so much for doing it. I should just say something that says in Persian too to those who will be listening to us in the seminar too, that خیلی برای همتون تبریک میگم که ما حالا به این نتیجه رسیدیم که از اعضای جامعه بگیریم و بالاخره اسکالرشیپ های آماده کنیم برای شما. So this was the thing that I told them. Of course we will plan them. Thank you very, very much for coming and appearing, although you are quite busy, as we know, like in the universities, and you're quite busy. But as always, you're active too. So
thank you very much.
Thank you so much for appearing here. Share the video with people coming to today's seminar. The seminars that we will have around at NEMA, National Institute of Management and Administration, the Business School, at American University of Afghanistan, or we call it Tantun Amrikaya. And we are very, very happy to have you. At the end, I really want to listen to some beautiful Persian from your side. I really like your Persian. And I sentence as well. Now we're talking. It was very quiet. It was very, very impressive that I listened for the first time from a foreigner friend talking in Persian. So just listen to that, and then we'll end it up.
I don't have enough vocabulary to speak for Dari very well, so I need to learn from you. I don't remember, because I've been out of the context right now. I don't even have an Afghan friend in Singapore. So, language is like this, and it's also similar for those of you who want to learn English, right? So you need to constantly practice and speak with someone, So that's something I can give you advice on. And I know you have a lot of opportunities to watch a lot of English movies. So use that opportunity to listen and to write and read in that foreign language.
No.
So for me, I need a lot more practice speaking Dari or Farsi. But yeah, that's my vocabulary is limited.
That's
خیلی ممنون. So is there anything else you want from me before we close the call?
Excuse me?
Is there anything else you want to ask before we end the session?
Thank you so much. We did not only have the interview, we also came to some very beautiful results, I could say. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Wahab Jan. Khudafez.
Bye.